another example, which is for semicrystalline polymers, and specifically low-density polyethylene and high-density polyethylene. And so we're going to do some NOR-DMT analysis right now. So if we remember low-density polyethylene, right here, the difference between low-density polyethylene and high-density polyethylene is due to the polymerization wrap, and again, the number of branches. So low-density polyethylene has more branches than high-density polyethylene. So much fewer branches. So no branches, just a couple. So we can look basically at, these are both semicrystalline materials. So in the spherolite, we're going to have these lines. If we look at our lamella, we'll have some regions like this, and then tie molecules like this. And the difference is low-density polyethylene, because of these kind of branches, we're going to have a larger portion of these kind of amorphous regions, but also we're going to have some motion of this wiggling of these chains. So let's look at low-density and high-density polyethylene and the dynamic and mechanical testing result as a function of temperature. So we see some interesting things here. So there's some peaks that kind of tend to line up. So we see this alpha peak here and this gamma peak here. They line up very, very, very well for low-density and high-density polyethylene. So what could that motion correspond to? Well, again, one of the things about this analysis is a lot of it, unless you use kind of NMR, FIC, some of these kind of other techniques, NMR specifically, you're not going to be able to kind of deduce what motion is what motion is due to kind of what part of the polymer, but you could estimate it again based on the available thermal energy. So we can see some similar transitions. So we can look at this alpha and alpha prime peak. That's going to be corresponding to the motion of these crystalline regions. Again, why? Because these are high temperature, right? High temperature regimes that are kind of moving in here. It's for this alpha peak right here. Get rid of this guy right here. And then for the gamma peak here, this is a low temperature. So these are most likely, this alpha peak is going to be for the crystalline region. Why? Because in your lamellar, to get that to move, we have these, favorable intermolecular interactions. It's going to be more difficult to break those and move around. Here, this motion, so that's going to be corresponding to your alpha. This kind of motion right here in your kind of amorphous region, again, more available free volume. So this is more likely going to be corresponding to this peak right here. But we see something really interesting kind of happening. For LDPE, we see this beta peak. So this beta peak, we see it for LDPE, but not for HDPE. What could be moving there? Well, look at what's the structural difference between high density and low density polyethylene. It's the presence of these branches. So perhaps this peak is related to the motion of the branches, maybe the motion of the branches in the amorphous regions. And we could see this alpha prime peak as well for LDPE. Maybe, again, that's related to the motion of the branches. Again, there's going to be still some branches in your crystalline region. Maybe that's the motion of these kind of crystalline, again, it's going to be difficult to kind of rotate around there. Maybe it's the motion of that in the crystalline regime. So you could start to see, again, the power of this technique. With one experiment, we get to see kind of all these different modes of motion at different temperatures, different thermal energies that we can access. We could also tell structural differences between these two polymers are the same exact. Their monomer unit or repeat unit, it's exactly the same. But we see these stark differences in behavior due to kind of this branching effect. And we could isolate and see, okay, look at this temperature, this thermal energy, these chains are able to access motion that is not accessible for HDPE because there's no branches. So again, we could tell structural differences, and we could tell at what energies these transitions are occurring. So DMT is a very, very powerful analysis tool. You're definitely going to see it on your problem set 8 and also on your exam. But again, you just need to make a reasoned argument about the thermal energy required for a particular type of motion. So look at the structure, look at the peaks, look at where they fall in terms of temperature, and think about the motion that can be occurring there. So you will definitely see this on your exam. So that's it. And next time we're going to get into time temperature equivalence of polymeric materials, and we're going to look at basically how the modulus of your polymers can change as a function of temperature. All right, I'll see you on the next video. Thanks. Bye.